Hello and a warm welcome to Federal special program Capital Beat. Amid growing uproar in Parliament, the opposition today decided to move a no confidence motion against Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla seeking his removal from office. Now, this motion is being introduced under Article 94C of the Constitution. Now, the opposition's grievances against Birla include disallowing the leader of the opposition, Rahul Gandhi, from speaking during the motion of thanks to the president's address and failing to take action against BJP MP Nishikant Dubey for making unfounded charges against women MPs of the Congress. The opposition also accused Om Birla of providing special privileges to certain Treasury Bench MPs. Then another key issue why they are mulling over bringing this no confidence motion is the suspension of 8 opposition MPs for the entire session, which has been cited as a further reason for the move against the speaker. In fact, Congress General Secretary Organization, KC Venugopal, was speaking to the reporters, and he said that this has become a one-sided parliament where opposition has no voice. Now, what we are told that this decision was taken at the India Bloc leaders meeting, which happened just before the parliament convened for this week. And what we are told is that DMK has supported, but Trinamool Congress has not committed to its support. So, what does this no confidence motion mean for the government, for the speaker himself? Can India Bloc come together? What happens if Trinamool Congress doesn't join the opposition as far as this no confidence motion is concerned? So we'll try and find out the details of this particular story. Thank you so much for joining, former Secretary General of Lok Sabha, PDT Achari. So thank you so much. We have Javed Ansari, senior journalist and political commentator. Thank you very much, Javed. And let me begin with Javed. Given the fact that all these decisions have been taken at today's India Bloc leaders meeting, and there are reports that so far Trinamool has not committed its support to the India Bloc. What do you think could be the reasons? And what happens? I mean, will Trinamool stay isolated if it doesn't join the opposition?
Look, it'll be very bad optics for the opposition. The fact that the opposition stands divided, it's not united, and therefore it's incumbent upon the Congress party and its leadership to speak and then speak to all the stakeholders in the opposition and ensure that all of them are on board. Look, even if the entire opposition comes together and votes against the speaker, this motion will fail. But it's more symbolic. It's to make a point. Perhaps there is some bargaining that could happen because the Mamata Banerjee during her last visit had indicated that her party would like to move a no confidence motion, an impeachment motion against the EC
Yeah, I'm losing your audio, Javed. I've lost your audio. Uh, Javed, can you just connect? No, I'm not getting your audio, Javed. Javed, I've lost your audio. Can you hear me? Javed, I've lost your audio. Oh, okay. So let me come to Mr. Achari, and I hope to be joined again by. Okay, I think Javed has just joined. Yes, Javed, I lost your audio in between. Go ahead, please. Yeah, Javed, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. Tell
Yeah,
me.
yeah. I lost your audio actually in between. So could you
No,
just repeat what you said? Yeah.
I said, look, it'll be very bad optics if the entire opposition is not on the same page. And it's important for the Congress party, its parliamentary party leadership, to ensure to work on members, to work on the coordinate with other floor leaders, and ensure that all of them are on the same page. Perhaps they must. I don't know what is in the mind of the TMC, but TMC is not very happy. TMC and SP are not very happy with the way the Congress has been going about affairs in Parliament. They say, they don't they have their own agenda and they don't make an effort to accommodate our views. So they shouldn't be taking us for granted. So perhaps that's one of the reasons TMC wants to make a point. So they need to reach out. Perhaps Rahul Gandhi will have to speak to Mamata Banerjee. And the TMC also wants to move an impeachment motion against the election commissioner, chief election commissioner. And
So do you
and they
think do you
and
think
they
that
will require the support of the entire opposition.
right? So do
So
you think that
therefore,
Congress? Do you think, Javed, that Trinamool Congress will ask Rahul Gandhi or Congress now to support them as far as the impeachment of the
they've
election
said, of
commission?
course,
Yeah,
she has already made it clear that I will.
right.
It depends on I will have to bring all the other opposition parties. It depends on whether the opposition parties agree on this, and if everybody agrees, then we'll move forward. And she said we'll speak to everybody, to all those stakeholders. This is what Rahul and his team and his political managers must do.
Right. Okay.
Either which way, given the numbers stare you in the face. Given the numbers, this is bound to fail. But this is symbolic. It will go into the records, and is they're just making a point.
Right. I'll come to the symbolism part again and I'll come back to you, Javed. But let me go to Mr. Achari that this motion is being introduced under Article 94C of the Constitution. I was just looking at the past Lok Sabha speakers who have faced no confidence motion, and in most of the cases, the confidence motion has got defeated. So, what does this mean? And especially when it comes under Article 94C of the Constitution, what does it mean? If you could just explain that, sir.
The Article 94C of the Constitution enables the House to remove a speaker or a deputy speaker by moving a resolution in the House. And then the procedure has been described in the rule book, starting from 200, Rule 200 onwards. It contains the procedure to be followed in this matter. Now, the question is that the speaker is elected by the House. So naturally, the House has the power to remove that speaker. And members, any member or every member has a right to move a motion or resolution for the removal of the speaker if he finds that the speaker's behavior, conduct in the House is such that the speaker forfeits the confidence of the House. Now, opposition is a part of the House, important part of the House. And the speaker's role is that of an impartial umpire. And, we can say that a person is a good speaker if the opposition feels that their views are allowed to be expressed in the House fearlessly without taking away or curtailing their freedom. After all, Article 105 gives freedom of speech to the members in the House. And the rules which are there, which control that freedom to some extent under certain circumstances, doesn't totally obliterate that freedom. That freedom is supreme. Freedom of speech in the House. Much of the problem that arises in the House is because the opposition is not being allowed to have its say. There is an old dictum that opposition should have its say and the government will have its way. So that is how it should be. That is how it should be done in an ideal House.
No, but Mr. Achari, of course, we need about 100 MPs to sign this, and all that also can be done because opposition does have numbers. So cobbling the numbers won't be a difficulty. But what are the bottlenecks, or what are the kind of hurdles you might see on the technical aspect? Will it be admitted? Will it not be admitted? Will it be dismissed? What will happen, or what can you expect given the kind of numbers which the Treasury benches have?
See, Prasha, as Mr. Javed has said, it's a symbolic thing, and the number is not in favor of the opposition. So naturally, the motion or the resolution will lose in the House. But the point is, So far as the technical aspects of this resolution is concerned, notice has to be given of a resolution. And every member has a right to do that. And here, as you told us, that about 100 members have signed it. The rules say that this has to be admitted at the threshold on certain grounds, that it must contain a specific charge and no imputation of defamatory things should be there in the resolution, all that kind of thing. On many occasions in the past, some resolutions were, because there were many occasions where resolutions were moved by the members. Perhaps Jyotirmay Basu, the late Sri Jyotirmay Basu, he, in fact, he had moved the largest number of resolutions for the removal of speaker. Particularly, I think when Mr. Balram Jhatar was a speaker.
Another clarification I would like to have, and for the viewers also, a lot of websites and news websites have said that this is going to be like a no confidence motion against the speaker. Now, does a no confidence motion against the speaker exist, or we just say that probably this is a motion to remove the speaker? What should one say technically?
Actually, there is no confidence motion. It is a removal of the speaker.
Okay.
There is a resolution which seeks the removal of the speaker from his office.
Right.
That is what it is. So you can always say that a resolution for the removal of the speaker. That would be technically and substantially correct.
All right.
So when the ground has to be specific, because the point is that the speaker has to answer these charges. Speaker is given an opportunity. Speaker has a right to express his views in the House, to present his case in the House. Normally, speaker, once a member becomes a speaker, he doesn't participate in the proceedings. But this is the time when the speaker will be participating in the proceedings, because he will not be sitting in the chair. He will be sitting in the House.
Right.
And he has to answer these charges. Only then the House will take a decision on it. So charges have to be very specific.
And during that process, it will be somebody else who will be sitting on the speaker's chair.
Well, that would be either deputy speaker, if he is there, or one of the chairmen on the panel will be sitting there. That is not very important. Here, the question is what charges are being made. Now, you see, so far as the opposition is concerned, they have to be careful about specifying the grounds, because on this ground, this can be rejected. It has been disallowed. So they have to be very careful about framing the charges against the speaker.
Do you think that the opposition has a watertight case to propose this motion, given the two things, the two important ones, that the LOP is not allowed to speak, the other one that the speaker looks biased and without evidence, probably he has said that, the Prime Minister was going to be attacked by the women MPs. And today the women MPs also have written a letter to the Lok Sabha Speaker on this. So does this hold for a watertight case then for the removal and the motion we are talking about?
Well, you are asking me to say something, which has to be decided by the House. It is, so let us leave it to the House to decide that issue. Because I am nobody to judge on the merit of this thing. But what I'm saying is, technically, the resolution has to be perfect. That is the thing. So when they give a notice, the resolution has to be attached to this. Following a resolution. And resolution should contain specific charges which need to be proved. And while discussing the motion, the resolution in the House, the members have to be very specific about the charges, and they are not allowed to speak about anything else except the charges which are contained in the resolution. So they are very strict about it.
Right. But given the fact, now I'll come to Javed, that opposition has to give a 20 days notice. So it's very obvious that this motion will be proposed, or the removal will happen the motion will be proposed in the second half of the budget session, that is after the recess. But you were earlier talking about the symbolism part of it. Now, symbolically, what does it mean for the opposition, and symbolically, what does it mean likewise for the ruling side?
So before I answer that, I must point out that during last year or before that, the opposition had planned a similar move against Mr. Jagdeep Dhankar,
Deep Dhankar,
but
yeah.
it couldn't be taken up. And I'll underscore what Mr. Acharya was saying. It couldn't be taken up because the resolution was not worded properly. So they need to have a watertight case. It's not a question of just leveling 101 charges, It has to be very clear, and this is a substantive, this is not something that happens every second day. So this has to be, this whole process, this entire move has to be thought through. You can't react. It's not a knee jerk. Okay, you're not allowing me, so I'm going to do this. You
Looking at the two major allegations which have now come out in the public domain, and this was all source based during the morning time, but now what all the news websites are publishing is that these are the two main charges on the basis of which they are trying to bring in this motion of removal. Do you think that that's going to be enough, or it's going to meet the same fate as what we saw during Jagdeep Dhankar's time in Rajya Sabha?
Well, like Mr. Acharya said, leave it to the wisdom of the House. But a removal of the Speaker, to my mind, apart from the fact that he's, this charge of bias, the Speaker has leveled a very serious charge against certain lady members of the House. It's not enough. When you say that he advised the Prime Minister not to come and speak or to stay away from the House because he feared that there could be some, that he could be attacked. That's a very serious charge. If indeed that is true, and if he wants to persuade the rest of the country to believe it is true, what is the follow-up action? On what basis did he say it? Has he filed an
Right.
FIR against the MPs? An attempt on the Prime Minister's life is not a joke. It's not a charge. It's not an allegation you make off the cuff. So this is something very serious where he needs to substantiate that. And the opposition needs to press home this point. It's just not enough to write a letter or, they need to make this point and make it forcefully. And before we address the question of whether the majority of the members of the Lok Sabha will buy into this, first they need to ensure that all the entire opposition buys into this.
Right.
Sharad Pawar's party is conspicuous by his absence because there are lots of other things going around. There's been a death in the family. There's talk of merger. So if they're going to merge with Ajit Pawar's party, they are already in NDA, then what happens? Will they remain in the opposition? Obviously not. Trinamool Congress, there's a huge chunk. SP is silent at the moment. So SP is well. And there's a lot of smaller parties. It's not enough to get 100 MPs. Congress already has 99, and with DMK, they'll cross that number. And with Papu Yadav and all these people taken together, they'll cross that number. But to be able to, so symbolically, unless they present a united face, then maybe there'll be something to talk about. Or else, they will have questions to answer. The people will
Right.
ask, you are not even united. The entire opposition didn't back this move. And it cannot be a Congress only affair. It
Right.
will, if politically, it will fall short of the objectives it wants to achieve if it is only a party specific affair. It has to be an entire opposition has to be on board.
Right. You made an important point where you said that the numbers are just not enough. They will have to build a watertight case. Mr. Achari, how will the speaker now present his case when he said in the House that the women MPs were about to attack the Prime Minister? Now, is he going to bring in the CCTV footage? What is it? How is he going to prove that? Because that was some as if he was talking through the hat, and that's what the opposition member said, that he didn't have an evidence, and he wrote and he said something like this.
The point is that since the speaker has made this statement in the House, Then, and he has advised the Prime Minister to it's on record, he has advised the Prime Minister not to come to the House. Um, well, it is naturally when that point is raised, suppose this resolution gets admitted and it comes up for debate in the House, naturally the Speaker will have to defend his position. He has to answer these charges. That is the thing. So the Speaker will have to, well, I can't say anything about how the Speaker will answer the charges and all that. But every charge that is made in the resolution will have to be answered by the Speaker.
Right.
That is, because as I said at the beginning, that every charge has to be specific. And naturally should be supported by some evidence, And then the Speaker, and these charges will be known to the Speaker. Speaker will naturally prepare himself for defending himself when the debate comes. That's how it is. Well, once a resolution is given notice of, then, it is admitted preliminary. I mean, there is a preliminary stage of admission when they will just look into these grounds, whether the resolution is properly worded and whether it contains specific charges. If the charges are not specific, for example, you can't say etc. That etc. thing, that maybe on that basis they can even reject it. That's the thing, which has to be specific. That is what the rule says.
Right.
But there was occasion when even with such infirmities in the motion, on the resolution, it was admitted because of political reasons. In 1954, when there was a motion against resolution, against Speaker Mavalankar. Deputy Speaker said, although there are infirmities in this, but I had a discussion with, the leader of the House, that is Jawaharlal Nehru, Prime Minister. He said, we'll go ahead with it. Let's not stand on technicalities. We will go ahead and let the discussion take place in the House. I mean, that is one attitude. So, whatever be the technical problems in the resolution, but after that, on many occasions, on a technical ground, the resolution was dismissed. That is why I said at the beginning, one has to be very cautious. These people who are moving this resolution, they have to be very cautious and careful about the wording of it, the framing of the charges and all that.
Right. But as far as the commentary on the conduct of the Speaker is concerned, as far as the rules of conduct are concerned, what does this kind of a removal motion mean for the Speaker? Is it not so much of ignominy for any Speaker to face a removal motion like this?
It is. Because moving a resolution for the removal of the Speaker is not a very simple thing, so far as Speaker is concerned, because Speaker is held in very high esteem, and he, in fact, symbolizes the dignity and the authority of the House, and he's occupying such a high position where he should get respect from all sides of the House. But then, it may not always happen that way, and that's why this kind of thing is thought of by the opposition. Well, there is nothing unusual about it, because even in 1954, as I told you, there was a resolution against Speaker Mavalankar. Mavalankar was the pioneer. He was the man who laid down the rules and the whole system. He gave shape to the whole system, parliamentary system.
I'll just ask you one more question, and then I'll go for the concluding comments to Javed. That this is supposed to be, the extreme step which the opposition could have taken, because they thought that, there was no other option left, there was no other alternative left, and now they should bring in a removal motion. Now, do you think that there was any scope for the opposition in the ambit of whatever they have said so far? Could they have gone for any other alternative? Because there's no dialogue. There's actually no dialogue. The House is not running. Opposition is not being heard. So is this the right step which the opposition has taken?
Well, they have a right under the rule. They have a right under the constitution. They have a right. But
Right.
Normally we would think that members can go and meet the speaker when something which happens in the house, which according to them is against the rules and against all conventions and all that. If the speaker seems to be flouting the rules, then they can certainly, all of them can go to the speaker in his chamber and meet him and tell them that. So this is something, which cannot be done in the house.
Right.
All that. They can have a dialogue with the speaker before they move to the further next step. That is possible. But otherwise, there is no other way. You can't go to the court to challenge the speaker's decision in the house because speaker is well protected by the rules and the constitution. His ruling cannot be challenged, even if his ruling may not be correct fully, but that cannot be challenged. Challenged either in the house or outside. So that is the thing. Speaker's rulings, have to be accepted. Accepted. That is the
Right.
problem. So
Right.
the opposition in such a situation, the opposition will be left with only this. And they know that number is not on their side. They will lose. But still, the point is, speaker will be made to answer these charges.
Right.
That is because the members of parliament will be free to speak about what they feel is the unacceptable conduct of the speaker or his decision. All that. Otherwise, they can't do that. In normal times, they can't do any of these things in the house.
Absolutely.
But here, they get an opportunity in fact, to go hammer and tongs at the speaker if such an occasion arises. That is the difference. That's the difference.
Yeah, so this brings me to the last question, Javed, to you, that given the kind of almost like fireworks between the Treasury benches and the opposition, do you think any sort of dialogue now is possible, now that they have publicized that we'll go in for a removal motion? Do you think that still there is any scope for dialogue? Maybe the opposition leaders can come together, they can speak to the speaker, and somehow the opposition could change their decision? Do you see that possibility? Or now it's like a done thing, they will have to go in for this motion of
Look,
removal?
this is not cast in stone. This motion has not been tabled, and
Yes.
till it is tabled, until it is tabled, there is room for dialogue. You should never, in the essence of parliamentary democracy, you don't shut the door on dialogue, on conversation. Like they say in Hindi, samvad. There has to be backroom channels, backroom communications. The fact that we've reached this stage, one of the primary reasons is also there's absolutely no dialogue between the opposition and the government at all. Not just on this, on any issue. Both sides are just, like gladiators wanting to grind the other to death. That's not going to happen. This is politics. It's parliament. It's a very beautiful system and it's a very complex system also. Nobody, like Mr. Achari said, the opposition must be allowed to have its say, and the government ultimately must have its way. That's the thumb rule. That's how these things function. So there's always room for negotiations. Even as we speak, about an hour and a half ago, Mr. K.C. Venugopal, obviously he didn't go there on his own vibration. He must have gone with, at Mr. Rahul Gandhi's, with his nod and permission. He went there and had a conversation with speaker. Apparently something was agreed and then it fell apart. The problem is not so much the speaker. It's the government. The government doesn't want to compromise. The Congress leadership also doesn't believes that if they don't want to compromise, why should we not? This is one. This is one issue. This is one way of holding them accountable, of hauling them over the coals. But Parliament and Indian Parliament and democracy is bigger than individuals. None of us are going to be there forever. This government will not be there forever. This opposition will not be there forever. This institution will continue. And with this kind of shenanigans, it's not doing anybody any good. The government may win this battle or the opposition may win the other battle. But ultimately, it's the institution of parliament which is being damaged. We built a huge, grand parliament. I think more than that, and I said it even at the inauguration, that more than that, we need a new code of conduct. Acharya Saab will tell you that
That's
when we celebrated 50 years of independence, all the speakers of the state assembly as well as the Lok Sabha speaker and then convened a meeting and they agreed, and it comprised of all political parties. They agreed that state legislators and the Indian Parliament will at least meet for 120 days a year. Place your hand, let these leaders place their hands on their heart and tell me if they've even worked for 20 days a year. They may have met for 60 days, but what business have they transacted? They go sign the register, go to parliament, shout, and we say, when I used to cover parliament, we had a ready-made copy, unprecedented scenes of pandemonium and bedlam. We've run out of terms to describe what is happening in parliament. Honestly, it's of no interest to me and to the common person on who's going to win this battle.
right.
What is of interest to me is that this institution must thrive. This is
That's
one institution where even an MP from Begusarai or from Tamil Nadu, from Kerala, or whichever part of the even an ordinary MP can voice our grievances, can, hold the government accountable. If you damage and shut this down, what will be left? It's very easy to damage things. It takes years, decades to build an institution. It takes, and it doesn't take too much of an effort to damage or run to the ground an institution. And
right.
unfortunately, nobody in this case is smiling of roses. I don't know,
Right.
Acharya Saab has seen much more, he's far more experienced, but I don't think there is anybody who's smiling of roses. Of course, it's the government which is their primary business to ensure that this house runs. The speaker must at all times not only be impartial, he must seem to be impartial.
Yeah.
And there is reason for everybody to introspect.
Absolutely. But just before I end the program, a quick question to you, Javed, again, that this motion of removal of the speaker, it's not going to be easy on both sides, whether it is the speaker who has to authenticate, who has to substantiate, prove what he said, and also for the opposition. So it's not looking like going to be a cakewalk for the opposition also.
Obviously, the opposition, apart from point scoring, as far as the fate of the motion is concerned, it's already sealed. We all know, unless something really out of the ordinary happens, which is not going to happen. We
Yeah.
know the numbers are stacked up against it. This debate will degenerate. There'll be a lot of name calling and mudslinging. There'll be repeated adjournments. The government will come out, and we'll unleash their heavy artillery. I'm sure the Prime Minister would like to speak for at least 90 minutes. Amit Shah the Home Minister will speak, other ministers will speak, other party leaders will speak, Congress and whatever is remains of the other opposition will speak. But at the end of the day, what are the gains? The same thing behind closed doors can be achieved behind closed doors. If leaders just sit across the table and talk, okay, boss, enough is enough. Because once the fist is clenched is fine, but once it's open, once the genie is out of the bag, then it's gone. Okay, nothing comes out of it. This motion meets its fate and it will be defeated. And if it's business as usual from the next day onwards, the speaker continues in his merry way, the government and the opposition continue. What will this whole effort have achieved?
Absolutely. I mean, we've made such important points in this last 34 minutes we've been discussing with both of you. Both of you are veterans, whether it's Mr. Achari or Javed, you as well. But I hope the Treasury benches, the Speaker, the opposition, all of them watch this program. And at least we hope that some of the points stick on their mind so that, these things can't be repeated. Let's hope for the best. We'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Mr. Achari. Javed, thank you very much for joining. Thank you.
It was an honor sharing screen space with Acharya Saab.